Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us on another beautiful day in America. Happy Friday, folks. We made it all through another week, and boy, it was an eventful week, at least in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Attorney General Pam Bondi was showed the door last night, and I think it's probably for the betterment of the administration, for the betterment of the country, as they can now pursue what President Trump ran on, truth, justice, and the American way. And finally, maybe get some arrests, get some indictments from the deep staters who have sought to undermine democracy in this country for 10 years plus. Just a few moments, we're going to be joined by a friend of mine, friend of the Great America Show, Russ Tice, former senior NSA intel analyst and whistleblower, to take up some of the biggest stories plaguing the nation right now, including a massive cyber hack from good old China. They just can't seem to help themselves. As we're in a war with Iran, China wants to be a proxy to think they're going to do whatever they want to do. But I think they're going to wind up learning the hard way, as President Trump has shown this time around, that he's not for the games. He's not for the bullshit. He doesn't want to deal with the nonsense, as he saw with Iran. He negotiated with Iran for a year to give up nuclear weapons. They messed with him for a year. Let him along. And lo and behold, Iran has been faced with fire and fury because of their failure to come to the table for one simple issue: get rid of your nuclear weapons. So China may be the next one around. I want to bring in our guest today, as I said, friend of mine, friend of the Great America Shows, former senior NSA intel analyst and whistleblower, Russ Tice. Russ, happy Friday. You'd emailed me last night a good old clip from our friend over at Fox News, Jesse Waters, from couple of years back, and I think it's probably a good way, before we get into the news of the day, to maybe kick off our Friday. So what do you say? I want to roll this for the audience, because some of them may not know. I mean, they should, because you've been on the show, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 times with me alone, and then another 30 with Lou, what your story is, and you being, I guess, one of the first people to blow the whistle on illegal surveillance, not around the world, not spying on our enemies, but illegal surveillance right here on our American people. So good old Jesse Waters came out to your house. We won't say where it was, but came out to your house and did a little man on the street interview trying to get you. Let's watch together.
Remember this man, William Arkin, who was a military analyst for NBC News and the Washington Post. Arkin wrote that U.S. troops in Iraq were mercenaries and said other demeaning things about them. Nobody at NBC News or the Washington Post really challenged Arkin for his outrageous opinion, but we did.
Mr. Arkin, can we talk to you about some of the comments that you made?
Can you leave me alone for just a second?
Actually, no, we'd like to talk to you for a second.
What they do best, Russ, they show up at your house.
Don't you think that was really hurtful and harmful?
Well, actually, they hit me where I was saying because of some death threats.
Now here we go. Similar situation. On January 21st, former U.S. intelligence analyst Russell Tice went on NBC's cable news network and said this.
The National Security Agency had access to all Americans' communications, faxes, phone calls, and their computer communications. And it didn't matter whether you were in Kansas, in the middle of the country, and you never made a communication or a foreign communications at all. They monitored all communications.
Now, that would be illegal. And if true, a very frightening situation which could send those who ordered it to prison. So, of course, the factor wanted to know what evidence Mr. Tice has. Who exactly ordered what? NBC News didn't push him for any specific proof. No surprise there. So we respectfully called Tice, inviting him on the program. He said no. We found that strange. If you're trying to stop a wrongdoing, you get the word out, right? So we sent Factor producer Jesse Waters to visit Russell Tice.
Hey, Russell, how are you? We're with Fox News. Want to ask you a few questions. You claiming the Bush administration spied on the media? Who exactly was spied on?
I have no comment for you guys. I've already spoken. That's enough.
But I mean, you're going on national television and saying this. You got to say who it is.
I've said what I'm going to say. That's it. That's enough. You guys are done.
Come on, man. This is just unprofessional. You got to back up your accusations.
Why aren't you in front of Bush's abode there in Texas? Why aren't you there?
Fair question.
I mean, apparently he's the one that allowed this to happen. Why aren't you tracking him down?
What exactly did you do?
Good day, gentlemen.
That's really disgraceful. You got to back it up, your accusations, my man.
Disgraceful? Disgraceful?
Over that hill is an agency that spied on every American in this country. I assume you can edit that out. That's disgraceful. Good day, gentlemen.
Who told you this? What evidence do you have of these kind of things? We're just worried about the factor getting wiretapped.
Well, the bottom line on this is that Tice made some very serious accusations. He went on NBC News, and he can't back them up. Now, if we're wrong, he can join us at any time.
Bill O'Reilly, just as pompous as ever. Russ, first, I got to say, that's a couple of years back. You haven't aged a bit. You still got all your hair, which I think a lot of people would be jealous of. So after you said that to me, I went over on Grok, which I think is a really awesome AI tool. It's Elon Musk's AI bot over Twitter. And I said, Russ Tice made accusations that Americans were being illegally spied on. Did it prove to be true? Yes, Russell Tice. His core accusations that the NSA was conducting illegal warrantless surveillance on Americans were largely proven true, though some of his more expansive claims, such as word-of-word domestic content collection or specific high-profile targets, relied on his personal testimony without full public documentation at the time. But we know that now to be entirely true because of what they did to Donald Trump. Tice, they go on to give you a little background, and they go on to say what your claims that you made, and everything that you have said, Russ, has been confirmed to be true. Yet you've never got a phone call from good old Jesse Waters apologizing, number one, for coming to your house, and number two, apologizing for being a total buffoon and a total idiot, and acknowledging the fact that we were illegally spied on here in America. Floor is yours, sir.
I wasn't expecting that little weasel to show up anytime soon. What gets me is he's done interviews after that.
Yeah,
where especially after what happened with Ed Snowden, where he goes to people and says, "Are you upset that the government's spying on you?" And it's interesting that I wonder why Ed Snowden is not here, that he can do interviews with Mr. Walters, because to show him information. The difference between me and Ed was that Mr. Snowden, he had the tangible proof of what I said many years before. He had the documentation, and some of that was classified. So what did the government do? They came after him. Even though he was proving what they were doing was illegal and unconstitutional. So what I had was my word. What Ed Snowden had was the proof of what I'd said in my words with their own documentation. And boy, they didn't like that fact, because you can't say that Ed Snowden's now just crazy. He's a crazy liar like they accused me of being, because he's got the goods on him. So that's sort of interesting. And now,
I don't want to cut you off, Russ, but I have a short train of thought, and I'll probably forget. I think I'm experiencing the onset of getting old. So I just want to get this in and get your reaction to this. It's funny for me because Jesse Waters goes out there and talks about President Trump being spied on and wiretapped, and he's made a career on it. He's made millions of dollars a year on the fact that, but he's never acknowledged the fact, Russ, that you were the one who called it out, and he was a little pompous jerk that showed up at your house to pretty much make fun of you. When he goes on television every night and he's like, oh, well, Trump was the victim, which he was 100%, but never acknowledging the core fact of you blowing the whistle on this over 20 years ago.
Well, you got to remember, when I first blew the whistle, a Republican was in the White House, a guy named W. Bush. So then it was okay, I guess, for that side to come after me. And what's ironic is, I'm very much a conservative, and always have been, constitutional Republican kind of guy. So it's the people they were going after. When I was being shown the documentation was, they went after President Obama before he became president. When he did that big speech for the Democratic convention in 2004, and everyone realized this guy was a rising star, and they say, boom, they hit him right away. No, they hit him, and his staffers, they hit his wife. They did all of his comms, and I'm talking not just the metadata, which is we've talked about that. That's the BS that they put out there that they're only doing, but so they can do the parallel construction thereafter. But of course, they went after word for word for wannabe senator of Illinois, Barack Obama. Well, at that time, there were bigger things in line for that fellow. So, but the NSA they'll go after anyone, either side. They play both sides off the other, and so as long as they stay in power, that they're in charge. You got to understand, we're in charge. Hey, I'll give you some dirt on this guy, and this side, I'll give you a dirt on. That's like an arms dealer selling arms to both sides of a conflict. Both sides are killing each other, and they're using your guns, and you're the one making the money, and you're in charge. Yep. So that's the game that NSA is playing.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, MyPillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
It was a big case out in Illinois. I mean, you probably remember Rod Blagojevich, who I've had on the show before, a man who was completely set up and framed, charges. They had a hung jury. Within 7 minutes of the hung jury, I mean, we found out that he was wiretapped and everything. Within 7 minutes of there being a hung jury, the prosecutors came out and said, we're retrying this case. They jigged it around a little bit, dropped some charges, added some charges, and boom, you got a conviction of this guy. And that was in the same, time frame of them spying on Obama. And to me, it's just totally asinine that they continue to do this and they continue to get away with it. It must drive them nuts, Russ, because, being one of those fellows you used to be in this agency, you spy on people to get the dirt. It must drive them nuts inside of that basement, inside of that bunker, wherever the heck they're hiding, Russ, to have spied on Donald Trump and not got as much as a salacious photo of the guy. I mean, it's got to drive them absolutely nuts to know we spent all this time, we've ruined the credibility of this agency, and we have absolutely nothing on the big bad orange man.
Well, think about that. When I came out actually I started talking to the press in 2004, but it finally came out at the end of the December of 2005, after the White House was doing everything they could to suppress the information coming out from the New York Times. But it's like boom, they hit. Obama was talking about when he was running for president. He's gonna clamp down on the intelligence community and on all these abuses, blah blah blah. So then what happens when he gets in? I'll tell you what happened. Someone came to him and showed him the laptop, all the goodies they had on him, and then they said, "Look, now President Obama, we'll work with you and maybe get you some goodies on your enemies, but you got to understand, you got to play with us, and we're kind of in charge here." So what did Obama do with the IC and NSA and all this? He doubled and tripled down on all of it. So that meant they had the goods. They had whatever dirt. I don't know what dirt they had on Obama, but I bet they had some good juicy dirt on him. And then Trump comes along. Now, Trump is a public figure. He's lived in a glass house his entire life. So all the foibles he's had in his life, and he's been with a couple different ladies here and there, and was known as a bit of a playboy, and everyone's known that. So here he comes in. Everyone's known that, and his loyalists basically say, "We forgive you, Mr. Trump, because we know you're going to be in it for us." And they can't blackmail him. They can't bribe him because he's got his own $1 billion+ bucks. So he cannot be controlled, and they detest the fact that President Trump cannot be controlled. So they had to do everything they could. The deep state did everything they could to submarine our president, everything. And of course, history proves it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I could have a little bit of speculation on what they had on Obama. A man by the name of Larry Sinclair did an interview a few years back with Tucker Carlson, who had came out in 2008 and made allegations that he himself had smoked, I think, crack with Barack Obama and had some sort of sexual relationship with him. So I don't know if this is, part of the allegations or, dirt they had on Obama, but this is a man who came out and said it. So, no, and I think he's actually since passed away. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he's passed away. So it just boggles my mind, Russ, that all the stuff they've gotten on everybody. I mean, the Bush family, you forget about it. You've got a rap sheet of the scumbaggery that family has done over the course of, 40 years. The Obama regime, I think, is highly questionable. Clinton, he's got a rap sheet bigger than anybody. That guy's the biggest criminal out there, him and his family. So, you go down the list of these people who there's actually dirt on, then you come up on the orange man, and it turns out, I mean, the guy's as clean as a friggin' whistle. So it must drive them nuts. Let's turn, Russ, to Tulsi Gabbard, who they're allegedly saying is on the chopping block, but the White House is denying that. There were some people who were floating that they would like Pam Bondi to take over Tulsi Gabbard's job, which absolutely made me cringe. But the scariest part about it all is that should Tulsi leave, someone like John Ratcliffe would have a say in Tulsi's replacement. They've gunned for Tulsi, Russ, from day one, which only makes me believe that she's one of the good people. Your thoughts?
I'm right there with you. The flack that she's taking leads me to believe. And I was skeptical about her at first because she's a bit of a neophyte in the intel world. But the one thing we discussed about her, being fed the wrong stuff and saying that Iran wasn't a threat. But I think she's learning very quickly where those daggers are coming from, and the fact that they're still after her throat makes me believe that she's the gal we need to have in there, and that I can't believe that President Trump is wants to dump her because she's trying to root this out. And I certainly hope she's looking into what I've said about NSA being the all in all for getting all the comms.
Yeah. So excuse me, Russ, I'm dying. I think allergy season is coming early here in New York, and it's got me bad. It's for anyone who suffered. I've never suffered them until like the last 3 or 4 years.
I do the Claritin thing.
I'm dying out here, so forgive me, folks. I'm not sick. It's just the allergies that has got me. So Pam Bondi, it's taken now over a year to get her out. Do you think now that Pam is gone, we'll finally possibly get some sort of justice? Now, Bongino ran from the FBI, quit, ducked his tail between his legs, and then decided to go back to private life to be a gangster that he is. He's I don't know if you know this, but Bongino's a tough guy. Talks a lot of smack on Twitter and threatens a lot of people. I think one day he's going to be sorry. He's going to threaten the wrong person. But he ducked his tail. I've said from the beginning, I believe that Cash, I think, wants to do the right thing, but has been held back by Pam Bondi. And I from everything it looks like right now, that could be the issue. Now, Todd Blanche, who's right behind her, I think is just as bad as her. So it's going to take President Trump to bring someone else different, and some names that have been floated: Lee Zeldin, Ron DeSantis. I didn't like the guy when he ran for President Trump, but I think if you put Ron DeSantis in there, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Your thoughts on Pam being gone?
I don't know though she was just lazy, or she just liked the spotlight and was too busy, doing interviews, or whether maybe the IC has dirt on her. Because, they go after everything. They go after the Supreme Court. They go after all the key players in Congress. They go after all the admirals and generals at the 3-star and above. They go after the high muckety mucks in finance, and they go after a whole lot of movers and shakers. So it's not just a select group that the NSA and ultimately has dirt on. And then whenever the FBI says, hey, we want dirt on this person, and then they get a FISA, the junkyard jackal, Jack Smith, so they said, okay, you get the FISA, you get the metadata, and we'll feed you all the word for word under the table, not to be. And like I said, to this day, how come no one in Congress has brought this up to any of the questions, which are, have you ever gotten word for word from any other government agency or any private sector, anything on any of these individuals or anyone else? And then ultimately, where did it come from? And if you lie to us, we're going to throw you we're going to put you up the river. You don't see that question. How come you don't see the Clapper question anymore?
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
And you know what, Russ? You bring up a really good point, because we're on the heels now of FISA 702 getting ready to be restored. And it boggles my mind. I think it's every 2 years that this comes back up for renewal. But, the same people who have talked strong about they spied on President Trump, they did this, they did that, every time it comes up for renewal, last time I guess was 2024, which President Trump called for Republicans to kill FISA, the thing gets renewed every single time. I have a feeling, Russ, this time around, it might be a little bit different. Your thoughts? I
disagree. I think it's not different at all. I'd like to go talk to Jim Jordan or Marsha Blackburn, some of the key shakers that are involved. But every time 702 comes up, it's like, oh yeah, we must have 702, and which is nonsense. We can get whatever we want with court orders to get, someone who's spying against the United States, someone who's committing espionage, someone who a terrorist who wants to blow something up in our country. We can do all of that with warrants, If it's overseas, we can get it anyhow, because guess what? That's NSA's job. We spy overseas and we listen in word for word if we can get it for all kinds of stuff. So it's just, it comes back to me. It's like, Tom Cotton and then his ilk. I think that they are all being blackmailed. That's what I believe. That there's a few good ones in there, but they're maybe both hands I could read them off, but that's it in my opinion. I think they're just gonna just try quietly, just push it through and hope nobody notices. Push it through on like a night like to this before like a big holiday or something, yeah. And then then that's the way they operate.
The reason I say I think be different this time is because you've got people like Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman from Florida, who have been becoming very, very vocal. Eli Crane of Arizona, very, very vocal on certain situations and certain big issues. This has been one of them. So I mean, she's been banging the drum. So I think you're not going to get as many people to roll over on their back this time. And, even if it does pass, which you're right, it probably will with flying colors, you will have Anna Paulina Luna, Eli Crane, Andy Biggs exposing and continuing to reveal these Republicans who continue to vote for these special spy powers for the deep state. That's what I meant, and I believe it being different this time around, Russ.
Well, maybe I need to try to make an appointment with Representative Luna to go talk to her at Capitol Hill. Maybe she'd talk to me, face to face, or Rep Biggs. Is it Biggs or Diggs?
Biggs from Arizona. He's actually running for governor.
Well, that's unfortunate because then we lose him for.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's such a solid dude, man. He loved Lou. I mean, loved. I spoke to him after Lou passed away, and then his daughter, young, I think early 30s, Andy Biggs' daughter, just passed away from some complications. Yeah, so I texted with him not long ago, and he let me know his daughter passed away, and she's in heaven now at Lou. So just a solid. Congress doesn't deserve people like him. They don't deserve people like Anna Paulina Luna, because the place is just a cesspool of just trash. I mean, it really is a cesspool of total garbage, and they continue to sell the American people down the river with no repercussions. People continue to go out and vote for these people. Nobody exposes it. Now you'll get people to say, oh, well, what about Thomas Massey? He's the one who's exposing it. Thomas Massey only cares about himself. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she only cared about herself. She only came out and decided to start yapping at President Trump when he wouldn't endorse her for a Georgia Senate seat. Let's just get to the bottom of it and be honest about what it is, Russ. Let's turn, Russ, to FBI warning Congress of a major cyber attack that involves China that could threaten our national security. A computer security breach in the Bureau's Virginia offices, first detected in February, been reported to Congress as a major incident that could threaten national security. And it appears, Russ, that Beijing is behind it. Last week, we saw salacious hacks of Kash Patel's personal email address. They said it was from Iran, but I don't think the Iranian regime is smart enough to do something like that, which relates it all back to China.
Well, I'm not sure if you're old enough to remember, John, but back in the 90s, there was a big major computer company that was writing code and doing a lot of work for the government. And one of the systems they wrote that was being sent out to the commercial market, someone got a chance to look at the inside of the code, and someone noticed that whoever coded, when someone writes code, by the way, you put little notes in there that this is for this block of code is to do this or whatever. And normally before you release the code, you take all those annotations out. Well, some of the annotations were left in. And one of them said, this is NSA's backdoor into the system.
What?
Yeah. So you go, oh, well, that guy, he was told to do that, and the company he worked for obviously told him to do it. But no one was supposed to know until they saw that annotation where they forgot to take that out of the code register. So this has been happening for a long time. Now, why do I bring that up? It's because when you create backdoors into something, that normally means NSA has petitioned to have that done so that NSA can get into the back door of the communications against originally against our true enemies, but now, of course, against you and me and
we're the enemy,
right? The domestic public. The deep state will come after anyone who goes against the deep state, the DC cess swamp. So, but when they do that. And they also open up fissures that other hackers, say in China, or some smart punk 13-year-old in his basement can break into. So they create their own nightmares. With some of the stuff that I was dealing with, where I told you they went after Obama and company, not only did it was worse because they made sure there was no audit trail capability, because they didn't want to get caught when in the evenings when they're going in and they're spying on the politicians and they're spying on the top military and Congress and all these other and the law firms and all these other folks that they didn't want to get caught. So they made sure there was no audit trail that someone could go in and see that someone in the evening at 9:30 at night was going in and getting all this information. But it's the same mentality. When you create your own cracks and your own crevices, and you don't shore them up, it's not just you that can weasel your way in. It's a little mouse or a rat from somewhere else that can get in there. And I think we've created our own little crack for a Chinese mouse or rat to come weaseling in. And in this case, here's another thing. The FBI has more of these burn bags, and it's like a proliferation of secret burn bag rooms all over the FBI. Very interesting.
Why are the burn bags? That's like, this is the thing that boggles my mind a little bit, Russ. These people did all this stuff, and then they left all the stuff in burn bags. They left the evidence behind. Is it like sort of an FU and a middle finger to like us and saying, oh, well, you guys aren't going to do anything about it anyway?
No, I think it's someone who maybe wanted some leverage. So to think about it, if I'm like thinking, I want to have some leverage, that I know some information that if you want to fire me or do something, I have a little secret cash somewhere that I can pull out and use as my own little insurance policy. So I think these are insurance policies that someone set up, or there's someone who really had an honest, hey, let's not destroy all the evidence, because if you remember when this last time when President Trump was elected, I told you immediately. I said all the burn bags and all the data smashers and crunchers are working 24/7. Now that from November 5 it was until the 20th of January. To destroy as much as they possibly could, so that Trump and his cadre, when they came in, couldn't find out the dirt that the Biden dirt bags have been doing in his puppet masters. But apparently someone decided to put a few of those items aside, and I think maybe insurance policies or maybe an altruistic reason. As far as the FBI, I don't think that exists. My opinion of the FBI, but that's how I can explain it. But who knows? Maybe if we found out who these folks could tell us themselves.
Yeah, I think it's certainly about time we find out. And maybe with Pam Bondi gone at the DOJ, Kash Patel will be a little bit more free to do his job. I guess time will tell. Russ Tice, former senior NSA intel analyst and whistleblower. It's always a delight to have you with us, my friend. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend, and we'll get you back on here soon.
Okay. Happy Easter, John.
Happy Easter, Russ. Thanks, everybody, for being with us today here on The Great America Show. Truth, justice, and the American way. Right back here on Monday. I hope you all have a great weekend. As Russ said, happy Easter to all of you who celebrate. Celebrate with your family, your friends, your loved ones. We'll see you back here Monday, folks. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless America. And may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great weekend, folks.